Honourable Dennis O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. There should be, I think, at least 3 categories of consideration for a flag change. And the first is that there needs to be an appropriate context for it. And such a context could be, for example, a proposal for a republic, or at least a debate on a wide range of real constitutional questions, such as Maori seats, written constitution, the size of parliament, the size and number of electorates, the length of the parliamentary term, Maori electoral option and participation, and the role of the Treaty of Waitangi. But, Mr Speaker, there is no such context for this bill. That context is missing altogether, and therefore there is little or nothing to inform the reason for change of a flag on this occasion, which might in turn have informed the kind of flag which could be needed if indeed there was to be any change at all, and of course New Zealand First denies that. Secondly, Mr Speaker, the process for this kind of change needs to be driven from the bottom up, not the top down. This proposal is out of the blue from John Key, just his latest big idea, and as usual, his bad idea. Because it risks, as it has done already in this case, undue politicisation and therefore divisiveness when we really need efforts to encourage unity in this country. But Mr Key's not interested in that. No doubt the PM has his own agenda, and we are all expected to dance to his tune. But the consultation process has showed no public pressure for change, and the roadshow which toured the country has been extremely poorly supported, with a very modest response online as well. Mr Speaker, the third category is that the process needs to be fair, understandable and uncomplicated. But this process is none of those things. The process is not fair because the first flag referendum effectively disenfranchises people who want the current 1902 flag. But they cannot express those feelings in the first referendum. Therefore, the turnout is bound to be very low. I predict lower than 25%. And there will also be many spoiled votes because the process is essentially undemocratic for the reason I just gave. Also, the process is not understandable. Some may well think that the first referendum is the only referendum on the flag and that they must choose a new flag because the current one, of course, isn't there at all, and because they will think that the current one is to be dumped whatever they want. This lack of understandability is caused by the unnecessary complexity of the 2-referendum system, and one which is totally back to front.
That's right.
One referendum would have been enough, either by asking first if a flag change is wanted at all, which a normal common sense person would have done, but not this government, or at least adding the current flag to the first referendum as one of the choices, thereby making the second referendum completely redundant. Mr Speaker, it is now perfectly clear that most people, the vast majority of New Zealanders, are asking why would we even consider a new flag, especially now, in a year when we are remembering those who fought under the current flag at Gallipoli 100 years ago. 100 years ago this month was the Battle of Chunuk Bair. It is the efforts of brave Kiwis at that battle which have defined New Zealand as a truly independent nation. And I want to read some excerpts from a recent newspaper article about that. And the first says this: the commander of the Wellington Battalion, Colonel William Malone, never received the acknowledgement he was owed for his role. He cared deeply for his men, and when his British commanders ordered him to attack Chunuk Bair in daylight, he defied them, saying, quote, "We are not taking orders from you people. My men are not going to commit suicide," unquote. And then further on in another article it is stated, Chunuk Bair is also seen as key to the development of a distinct New Zealand identity, not least because of the perception that Kiwis and Australians were treated as cannon fodder by bumbling British officers. And later in the same article it says, and when it comes to Gallipoli, there's the added significance that this was the first time New Zealanders had been deployed as distinct from Britain. Quote, it was foundational in the development of our national identity, close quote. Now, Mr. Speaker, this very month, this is the moment that John Key, the ever-silent Prime Minister on this issue and in this debate, and his worn-out national government has chosen to push a new flag on New Zealanders. This is the moment he chooses to do that. How grossly insensitive to the men who died at Chunuk Bair. How deeply disrespectful to the flag they fought under. How totally badly timed in terms of context to be parading the incredibly awful long list of new flag designs we have seen recently. Those gaudy, ugly, dull designs, most of which look more like logos for a pound of butter than they do for a flag of the stature of New Zealand. And one of them, Mr. Speaker, the one with a white fern on a black flag, which I understand the Prime Minister favours, looks more like the Jolly Roger from a pirate ship. Totally inappropriate and out of touch with our rich Maori, Pacific and British heritage. Mr. Speaker, the current flag is not out of date, as those members opposite would have us believe. It is as appropriate today as it was in 1902 when officially adopted. It represents, through the Union Jack in the corner, the British heritage of New Zealand, the Scottish, the Irish and the English heritage, the English language, legal system, culture and the Westminster system of government. And all of those things are our heritage and are just as much the Kiwi heritage as they are the British heritage, and that is why that flag should stay in the corner of the New Zealand flag. Yeah. But that flag also represents our Pacific and Maori heritage through the Southern Cross, which tells of the amazing feats of navigation and resilience by ancient Maori people finding their way across the vast Pacific Ocean and settling Aotearoa and are now the tangata whenua of the land. Mr. Speaker, there is, in New Zealand First's view, only one appropriate response to the first flag referendum for anyone who respects the current flag and who wants to keep the current flag. Either those people, and that's going to be in the majority, should not vote at all, they should stay away. Or alternatively, they may draw a vote, but not choose any of the four alternatives shown and return a blank vote. That would be proper. Or they could write, if they wish, I want the current flag across the ballot paper, choose none of the alternatives and put that in the ballot box. That would be appropriate as well. Mr. Speaker, New Zealand First says, given the gerrymandered and inappropriate nature of this non-referendum, this failed and flawed process, New Zealand First calls on Kiwis to do any one of those things to show their disgust, not just at the timing and the process for this referendum, but the gerrymandered nature of it and the fact that they want to keep the current flag just as New Zealand First wants. Yeah.